Today in this video, we're going to be learning about dry ice, everything that you need to know. We have 4 students coming to our Romeoville location to learn all about the different machines, how dry ice works. We're going to be doing some demos. And if you want to learn about dry ice, stick around. We have 2 different brands that we're going to be working with today, and we'll go through all the specs and what these machines are used for and the pros and cons to them. We're going to be using Kärcher and then the dry ice energy line. The dry ice energy line has a few different machines, and we're going to be blasting on this Porsche. We're going to put it up in the air, take the wheels off, do some blasting on the inside, and then we have all of these parts over here that we're going to demonstrate and show what you can do with dry ice. We're going to have fun.
All right, so when we start with dry ice and we're thinking about what we're gonna do in regards to our machine selection, if budget is no issue, which it usually is, we have to turn around and look at 2 simple things. Number 1 is how much ice we can move, and that's followed by number 2, which how much air we can move. So as we go through the machines, you'll notice that they go down in size, they also go up in size, they go down in cost, they go up in cost, and it's simply based on how much ice they can move and how much air they can consume, right? It's very misunderstood because the air, most of the time, is the most expensive piece to what we're doing here, right? So just because this machine is bigger, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's better if you can't power this with the needed air, because then you won't be able to consume the amount of ice that you're trying to consume. So historically, when we're dealing with, and this is what I consider to be a dry ice blaster, not a dry ice cleaner. And I don't really have a number that I set that separates cleaning from blasting because I'm not a manufacturer. Yeah. But the one that I kind of throw out there is about that 40 to 50 CFM, which is a good amount of air. So if we're below that 40 to 50, I like to talk about we're in the cleaning stages, and as we go past 50 into the 70s, the 120s, the 180s, and up, now we're into the blasting. We get into the 200s and above. Now we're in like industrial dry ice blasting, right? So this would be a really good machine for someone in the US who has access to 3-phase power, which maybe in the helicopter world isn't a big deal, and you're not looking to do it every day, but you want to be in that entry-level blasting world, right? So we'll use this machine today at 185 CFM. Now 185 CFM is a great number because those rentable trailer compressors, that's what they push out, right? So as we go down in size to the machines and we step into, again, the non-traditional blaster or the cleaners, this is where dry ice energy really, no pun intended, but shines. Yeah. So the Vario, for example, is the smallest footprint of what we're seeing here today, but it doesn't mean that it's the weakest. Actually, from what you're seeing here, even though these 2 are the same size case, this is considered the baby. So this unit here is very basic. We call it a spray and pray. There's not a lot of adjustment here. If you notice, on the case, we can't adjust our pressure and we can't adjust our ice selection. Okay. But as we just go down in size, we can see this is very mobile. This machine's also very happy in that 30 CFM range, where the machine that's on the ground, if we just look at our hose sets, right, both being mechanical, this is gonna make a lot of sense. So if we just compare the hose size, which one's gonna move more air and more ice, right? With that said, in order for this machine to do what it has to do, we have to put way more air behind it, right? So we really try, we talked about this on the phone, the first 2 things we look at is what do you want to clean or blast 80% of the time, because that's where you're going to spend most of your time and most of your energy, and then how much air do you either have or are you willing to spend or budget for. So with that said, we're going to wait for it to just turn off. Right now the air compressor is running. It doesn't sound really obnoxious because it is a higher end rotary screw air compressor. When we talk about air supply, I change it to air system. I don't use the term compressor because the compressor is only one piece of it as we go up in our dry ice learnings, right? So most people, when they call, I got this really big compressor. And if you saw me on the phone, I kind of like make it like a face because I'm like, you probably don't. Now there was one guy though who came to a trade show, it was a commercial cleaning show, And he's like, oh yeah, I got all the air I need. And I'm like, okay, typical guy. Everyone's is bigger than it really is. Yeah. He goes, no. He goes, I have 250 horsepower compressors. I'm like, okay, you win. You can do whatever machines you want, because he literally has a compressor room, right? But that's where this comes from. So this technology comes from industrial printing, plastic manufacturing, any sort of manufacturing that needs to clean without water. And those places, 100,000 square foot facilities, they have a guy who just works on the air system, which is pretty cool. So the air system consists of a few different components, right? You have your compressor, and we try to push everyone towards a rotary screw compressor because they're meant to just run, right? With that said, you can, for small projects, or you're just not ready yet, you can use a reciprocal piston compressor as long as it's a quality build and you just watch it. They are louder and they make a good amount of heat, right? So the pistons are running like an engine, making your air, where the rotary's running like a supercharger, making your air, which is pretty cool. So 40 horsepower, rotary screw, 3-phase. I'm not gonna say industrial because some industrial guy will flame me in the comments, right? This is a serious compressor for our world, right? Next to it is its holding tank. So again, this whole game is volume. So we wanna be able to keep as much air in the system to consume as possible. Even though this is gonna run and be happy, we wanna help it by having the holding tank, right? So this is a very forgotten about cost. This is $2,500. So if we go smaller with our compressor, if we're trying to just start out and budget, right? The smaller compressor is gonna be happier with a bigger holding tank, because as the air comes down, we wanna be able to fill it up and not strain out our compressor. So as we go out of the compressor, we have the holding tank, right? There's all these added fees that no one thinks about. Just the leader hoses get expensive. Jesus. When we get into that high-end cleaning or entry level or blasting. We leave the tank, we spend more money on valve sets and leader hoses, we go into a refrigerated dryer and an oil separator. We need dry air. Now, you guys are all in the Northeast. We haven't had an issue with just refrigerated dryers. Our guys down in the Southeast who really deal with humidity, they have a mix of desiccant and refrigeration. You can lose your mind in the world of air delivery and air cleaning. So second thing that no one thinks about is the actual line or the air delivery, right? So, this is 1 inch, which for us is pretty big, right? But if we look up at the square in the ceiling without looking at the LEDs to blind you, that's a larger diameter. The reason that we did that, and we did it in a square, is we pretty much designed a secondary tank. So what we wanted to make sure is anyone down the line who's gonna pull some serious air is not gonna take away from someone else running an air tool somewhere else. So where it doesn't work is in the bays, but the bays only have small air guns, because if we follow the line, so the 3 bays all trunk off of here, and then they come through to drops on both sides of the bays. So realistically, if someone was to use that air gun, and someone was gonna use an air gun at the very end, they may feel it on this one where the air is not as strong, right? So when we think about dry ice, if we're in a shop and we can't spend, this was $15,000 for the lines installed. You get the guys on man lifts, the whole 9 yards. If we're not doing that, then I recommend, if you're gonna start, to have your dry ice connection right at where the air is coming out of, how you have it set up over by the wall. So yesterday, we pulled the transaxle out of a truck, not out of the car, because we're not mechanics. Right? And if we just look real quick, we had the Champ Turbo Pro, right, which again, is our version in the detail world of a blaster, right? But again, it's in that lower range kind of, there. It's really happy at 70 CFM, and it will run all these machines will run at 100 plus CFM. It's the pressure that trips them up, and it's nothing to really worry about. So what's nice about that is if you do end up with a trailer compressor, you can have a big machine, and you can have a little machine. We don't have to try to tune any of that down. But these two gentlemen saw, when we turned the pressure down, how the difference in clean was over in this corner. So this was the pressure up with 1 or 2 passes, and in here was the pressure down. right? So simply put, it was working. It wasn't as satisfying. It was just working slower. But if you don't have, the better part of a $75,000 air system and you're smart with it, you can still do some really amazing stuff. So we'll grab Miguel and his dad. We'll go over dry ice, a couple of precautions with that. We'll talk about the size and whatnot.
Yeah.
That would be good. So we went over the size of the machine isn't really what makes it happen, right? The size of the valving, the size of the hoses. The more air we can consume, which is the more ice we can consume, the more controls we have of that equation. Now, we talked about, and jump in at any time if I go sideways, right? Because I just talk, right? So in the US, we search for 3 millimeter or rice pellets. A lot of your other suppliers may call them blasting pellets, right? From what I've learned from my European counterparts is they like 1.5 mil. So when we look at the ice, and this was made yesterday, so this is pretty fresh. The diameter, you could pass it around. Believe it or not, it's not gonna hurt you, but it is weird to play with at first. So it is a gas that's forced through a machine, like the old Play-Doh machines where we made spaghetti as kids. It's very similar, right? So the gas goes into a cylinder, it's compressed, it gets pushed out of a die, and here in the States, we get 3 millimeter pellets. Now, in the larger blaster worlds, they love the 3 mil stuff. In the smaller cleaners, we really wish we had the 1.5s. So we've been kind of innovating and designing stuff in order to be able to use this ice more effectively. Couple of rules with this. Because it was a gas that's made of solid, it wants to be a gas again. Because it's CO2, it robs the environment of oxygen. Outside in the backyard with a barbecue, nothing to worry about, right? In a small cockpit of a helicopter, if we're in there cleaning for a long period of time, we are taking the oxygen out of the air. So if for whatever reason you ever feel dizzy or lightheaded by handling dry ice anywhere, right, go outside and get fresh air. Reason being, we shake it up a little bit. This is hard because it's green. If we watch the gas, it goes down. So it's gonna collect over by the floor. If you ever go into a dry ice manufacturing facility, you'll see exhaust fans not up high, but actually down low. So what the worst thing we can do is pass out. So if we're in a car being detailers, right, if you're in a helicopter, we're at the steering wheel, we get lightheaded, we fall over into what would be the footwell, bad day. So don't do that. Transporting, mobile, right? Most good suppliers, this is pretty expensive tote, we call these totes, right? $1,500, $2,000, depending on who they buy it from. Most good suppliers that you work with will just let you have the tote. You may have to sign like a credit form if you don't bring it back, they charge you. Some suppliers will charge you a rental fee. Try to negotiate that out of your deal, right? This holds 500 pounds, that's what's in there right now. So again, mobile guy, if you're doing a ton of work, you have to think about this 550 pound box. You got to think about it getting in a trailer or a van or in a truck, so on and so forth. And if you're in a shop, you got to make sure you get it delivered. Now there are guys starting out. There are people who can actually mail it to you. So if you're in an area where it's kind of hard to get, and like if you're only doing maybe 5 grills a week, you may not want to buy a tote like this. The local suppliers jack it up in the volume. Right, so this was $265 for 500 pounds with a $50 delivery charge. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And how long does it hold itself in here?
5 to 7 days.
Okay.
So when we talk about ice, and this was made yesterday, and this was shown to me by someone in Europe, take a handful of it, throw it at the ground. The more of that poof you see and the less you see remaining, the better the ice is for what we're looking to do. Now with that said, it's harder. So as the ice ages, it's pulling moisture. Every time we open up the tote, it's gonna suck in moisture, and it's pretty much breaking down the ice, and the ice wants to supplement back to a gas no matter what. So 5 to 7 days is pretty much where it's at. When we work with someone who does a lot of blasting, they really like the first couple of days the ice is harder. They're getting a much larger bang for the buck. Pun intended. When we deal with our cleaners, so guys that are doing HVAC work, guys that are doing electrical panels, high-end automotive stuff, The magic for us is like day 3, right? Come day 5 is when you throw it at the ground, it starts leaving a little snow pile. That's kind of when it's on its way out. With that said, I'm splitting hairs, right? Like, it's gonna work. It's just, maybe it's not gonna be as good as it could be, but we're talking single percentages when it comes to actually getting it all to figure out. But I've said it on the phone, you haven't heard it yet, Dad. You need 4 things, right? You need the air, clean, dry, the CFM matching what you're looking to clean, right? You need the ice, right? If you don't have the air, you don't have the ice, I don't care what machine you have or don't have, it's not gonna work. You need to be able to get the ice pretty much easily. So I give these guys a 3-day lead time, they make it in the morning for us, and they drop it off in the afternoon. This is the perfect relationship here, right? Don't pay a rental on the tote, we're good to go. I called them Monday to set up for delivery. How to find it, just Google, right? If you Google dry ice near me, you're just gonna get the blocks at your local supermarket. It's not gonna work, right? So we look for like a gas distribution company, so on and so forth. When you call them, couple of things. Do you make it? If they stumble and they don't know, you need to talk to someone at the facility who knows. If they don't make it, it could be made. There's a large franchise around the US, their manufacturer is in Salt Lake City. They then truck it around the US to their smaller stores. So it can be made on Monday, you could have it ordered for Thursday, and it shows up and you think it's day 1. You throw it on the ground and you have a little snow mound because it's been shipped all over the US already, and you're still getting it at a pretty good price. I don't know how they do it, but it's done. So we talked about the hose set sizes, we talked about the air consumption, the ice consumption, we talked about the air delivery. Mobile, we talked about it already for the van. Anything that you can get stationary, now this is like with your business, maybe with the different hangers and stuff, you can get a pretty affordable 70 CFM rotary screw gas compressor, and you can get it, I would say in my affordable is like, let's get it under 20,000 for the compressor. You can get all the way up to about 170, give or take. Those diesel ones you see on the contractor sites that some of these larger industrial blasters have, 50, 60, used for 35, you don't know how it's been maintained, right? So mobile's a bit tricky in the blasting side of things, but there are people who make a good living in this industrial blasting side of things. All right, so our dry ice journey, Jason and myself, it's not a subtle flex, but it involves a celebrity and everyone thinks we're just bragging, so we won't even say his name. But we got called out to LA by an awesome guy, he's big into cars, and he goes, hey, you guys taught me so much, I want you guys to dry ice blast this Grand National I got from the desert. And we're like, all right, we'll just fly across the country and we'll figure out dry ice. So on the plane, I watched Larry from NYC's video where he explored at the time and still to this day, sort of the go-to machine in the world of automotive undercarriage blasting. And I looked at the machine, I looked at the air supply, and I looked at everything, and I did quick math, it was $120,000. And I was like, like, how many cars can we do to really get that money back? Like, that's a good amount of money up front in the world of detailing, where our most expensive machine's like $800, right? So which is the pressure washer behind us, right? We have $80 pressure washers, but we got to be the best. We have an $800 pressure washer, $600 polisher, a couple $100 in lights, and we're good to go. $100,000 is pretty crazy. So restorative detailer, I'm using this crazy expensive machine. We have it right, it's working. It doesn't remove rust. I'm like, what is this? Like, I'm watching all the videos on social media. This is 4 years ago, so like there's not a lot, but like there's some. I'm like, it looks like it's removing rust. What is going on? Now we have this is why I brought these machines in for you guys today, because we had the big bad machine and we took the little machine and like it was just problematic. So it froze up a lot. So super portable, but every time we went to pull the trigger, it would give us a little bit of ice and then it would be kind of stuck. And it was like, at the time, $14,000. And I'm like, this one's crazy expensive. This one's still pretty expensive. The crazy expensive one's badass. This other one, man, I don't know. So we decided we're just not going to follow and get into dry ice. Fast forward a couple of months, I ended up meeting a German friend of mine at a trade show, and Germans are really tight. He's like, meet my other German buddy. He came with me. He sells dry ice machines. I'm like, I'll meet your buddy, but no. No. So I met his buddy, who's the owner of Dry Ice Energy behind us, and good salesman, not great because he's real German, even though we love him. And he's like, well, what do you not like about it? I'm like, well, one, it doesn't remove rust. And he's like, yeah, it doesn't. I'm like, well, at least you're honest, cool. And then he's like, well, what's the second? I'm like, well, the smaller machine that I wanted to love kept on freezing up. Now, to be fair to that machine, we didn't have the best air system. We didn't understand the air system. But what he showed me that was super cool, if we want to come and check this out, he engineered an oscillation system. So you see the metal blade there,
cool.
and the metal blade there? Yeah. When I pull the trigger, this machine oscillates the ice. So we're all mechanical. The air comes in the back, and if there's a little bit of moisture in here, it breaks it up. So now I'm like, oh, you sneaky German, you have my attention, which is pretty cool. And then he's like, well, you don't like the fact it doesn't remove any sort of rust, because I'm a restorative guy. I want to bring it to like new or better. He's like, the white cased machines, I can add a secondary abrasive. So this goes against what the big bad company markets, which is no secondary contamination. You're just using the ice. If the ice comes out, it sublimates and it's gone. Where if it's a sandblaster, a soda blaster, a vapor honer, we're making a little more of a mess. So why I love the Vario is in detailing, I don't need to blast, right? And we'll play with it again as we get into the Porsche. We can remove the factory undercoating. It is slower, but it's not painstakingly slow, right? Differences, and I'm going to let Octavio talk about single hoses because I still don't fully understand them, right? But our machines from Dry Ice Energy are 2 hose. So if we see, I'll turn both valves off so that it's safe. We have an air line and we have an ice line, right? So there's a little bit of pressure that comes up and pushes the ice up the red hose, and then there's a Venturi nozzle in here that causes, I call it the vortex, it's probably the wrong word.
It's Venturi.
Yep. And that's how we bring the ice into the air, right? So we stop the freeze up down here with the oscillator.
Yep.
And then because the ice isn't meeting until where it's shot out of the gun, it becomes a pretty effective solution. Now, what's neat with the Vario is, and all but one right now of the Dry Ice Energy machines, it's pneumatic only. So it's very simple. Vario for variation, we can control 2 pieces at the machine. We can control our pressure, which thanks to the TSA, they broke my nut, so just be careful with this. On the back side, we can select our ice. So we can go from very little ice to more ice by just pulling the ball and sliding the slide here. Very cool in a pneumatic only mechanical machine. Right? Now, to be honest with everybody, as car guys, more is better. We usually just keep it on high pressure, on as much ice as we can, and we rock and roll. Some of the lighter industry folks that we work with, they dial it way down and they get real detailed about the particle size and so on and so forth. So we talked about this on the phone, but we'll just do my filthy hat before I put it on my head. We have Tyvek suits. Again, anyone who wants to really get in the machines, you're gonna get dirty. So kind of throw those suits on. So I have a rule. I see my pressure gauge here. We have a secondary water trap and a pressure regulator on the back here. This is just how the machine comes. So I leave this one pinned. When I do anything in the interior, I go to 2 bar is where I start.
Okay.
So right about there. So
interior meanings,
of course.
fabric or
Yep.
dashboard, everything.
Yep. So dirty hat, flat nozzle. Cleaner hat, low pressure. I turn the ice off to show what will happen and just blow the dust. Same gun. the power of the ice when we turn the ice on. So if I really wanted to get a deeper clean, I can play with my ice selection, I can play with my pressure, or I can just call that clean. So this has been my go-to detailer machine because it will do very much of the heavier stuff slower, and because like around his rotor, all that surface rust, at the end of my clean, I can add a little bit of glass or a little bit of walnut. It's gonna make a mess, but I can get that rust off, which is just an added value. Also, again, think of this machine here, you're 30 to 40 CFM, right? So I have a system that I'm putting in Atlanta that's 40 CFM. It's a reciprocal piston compressor, 10 horsepower, single phase. The building I'm in is single phase, so I'm limited. 10 horse is like the max you can really go on single phase, unless you stack. I can get 2 compressors and have 80 CFM. That's crazy. We're in at about 6,000 before line set. So in all reality, for a shop that's starting off in automotive high-end detailing, under 20,000, we have a very good system that we can use daily and turn around and make some money, which is why this is here. And I wanted to show, not because it's the one that I love, but just show it first because we're just going to go up. 2 things from the Dry Ice Energy side of machine delivery. It uses all of these fancy European connections. So this is a 2-step. So if we plug it in 1, you hear the air go off, we have no air. It has to go in twice. 2 clicks, click, click. With the blue over here, it's a safety valve. No one gets this. This is the #1 call when someone gets a new machine. Has to release the air. That silver piece is part of the valve set. With that said, when we plug this in, how this works, I have no idea. You may know, and you got to give me the info. The air is not passing through. We have to take the plastic piece and push it down. That little click is what puts all that air through the line. Bizarre. Okay, now we're cranking. So now we're all the way to the east, right? So even though I half love this hat, we're gonna just show you, it may rip some of the fabric, it may rip some of the string, it may not, it just depends. But it's gonna be a different machine at this point. So in the automotive detail space, this is my favorite machine. Jason is a fan of the Champ Turbo Pro. The Champ Turbo Pro came out. More power. Yeah. More power. The Champ Turbo Pro came out because people were buying the Vario and watching social media and seeing a blaster and going, oh, it works, but it's slow. So all Dry Ice Energy did was said, okay, we're gonna have our oscillator, pressure control, ice selection, all of the nice things. We're gonna keep it mechanical, we're gonna keep the price kinda low, and you can throw as much air through it as you want. And they saw it yesterday, it was nicknamed the Beast. If these guys weren't here, we could be like, it is a beast, but you put a bigger machine next to it, there's a reason there's a cost difference. So, very simple way to change the nozzles. We just turn off the air, we turn off the ice to be safe. We're gonna go from the flat, we're gonna go to our, quote, blasting nozzle. Now, the one training rule that we have, if we see the hole here, if for some reason, and it's easier to see when you're in a shadow, we're shooting ice. You can see that little bit of a stream. If for some reason, the ice does get a little clogged, it'll be air only, you don't see the ice. Ice, no ice. The secret is what we call a back purge. So because we're a 2-line system, this may get cold and the ice may get kind of stuck in here. With the valves open, we either take a rubber block, a hockey puck, or the side of our shoe, but these are brand new even though they're from the factory store. This hole is built for it, so it's a little hard because it's on the cart. We put the nozzle here and we pull the trigger. And we want the ice to fly out the top. Another crazy German design feature. As long as the ice flies out the top, we're actually blowing the air back through the system. Yep. So, pretty simple. Ruben, 92? 97, right? So that's been there for a while. This is pretty thick. We're gonna see what the small machine does. Now, to be fair, she's cranked and we have 180 CFM of air behind it, right? So it's quite a bit of air, quite a bit of pressure. So we'll talk about the way dry ice cleans. You heard it on the phone already. Our first pass, we're freezing the surface. Instead of using a chemical, though we like chemicals still, to break the bond of the contaminant from the substrate, or in your case, charred beef. Yeah, we're drying it out like the floor of a desert. The next time the pellets hit, you saw I went back over the surface. The next time the pellets hit, it expands because the solid wants to be a gas. There's a micro explosion, and my joke is the dirt goes that way, right? So with that said, smaller machine, less air, less ice, we may have to freeze it more. We may have to pass over it more. We may have to come at it from a different angle. Some things you can go and just shoot at it straight, and we can just let it sit there and kind of eat. Pretty cool. Some things you want to freeze it and then try to get under it. Your world is going to be interesting, and that's really why we brought Kärcher, because once we get on like the transmission, anything that's wet, you're going to see even the bigger machines push it, which is kind of weird, right? So we, like, for us, it would be like an oily cleanup, but we don't do service work. Right? So we're just trying to remove something. But like once we get to the transaxle with the Porsche, you're gonna see where it's wet. You're gonna watch it kind of like move. It's gonna go from being real wet and oily to kind of gummy, and then the gumminess is gonna kind of move like a wave, which is pretty interesting. So we see all this, that's why we want mass. So with the smaller machines, we just get innovative and we get crafty. Even though it is a water-free clean because of how it dries out in the micro explosion, right? We still may want to take a little degreaser if we don't know what we're cleaning and just kind of let the chemical help us out. We don't know, right? So this is why with the small machine, we do get a little innovative and a little crafty. Now you're gonna see that moisture is gonna freeze up real fast. It may help us, it may hurt us. We don't know. In interiors. So the easiest way to answer your question. So because we're dealing with a machine that gets something super cold, it doesn't automatically make it brittle, right? But we have to think about what's happening within the layer of the substrate, right? Your grill, iron piece grill, is gonna react differently than the stainless steel hood, right? When detailing, if this is my seat, the foam's my seat, or where my arm hits the armrest, right, or hits the door, or in a helicopter. Yeah. If there's fabric over this, and we're cleaning the fabric, we are by default freezing the foam. So if we come in slow, give that a squeeze. Yeah. Starts getting pretty hard. Yeah. If I sit on the fabric, I just want to clean it. Now that it's frozen, you see what's happening to the foam? That's because, give that a squeeze, how hard that is.
So is it breaking it down?
It's breaking it down because I made the foam brittle. Now this is gonna happen in detailing on even below what would be the fabric. I learned the hard way on a Kia. They have soy-based fabric. It was cleaning the crap out of it because these machines will not remove stains. There's no way for it to get into the foam and bring the stain out because of how it cleans. So I'm just blown away, pun intended, on the seat. And then it warms up like 2 hours later because I went way too hard. And because the fabric got tight, it looked like an adult who had childhood acne. Because the foam under it was so damaged, it showed through the fabric, right? So with metal, so on and so forth, 90% of the time you're most likely fine, right? I'd be like real careful if this had an Alcantara steering wheel or sports suede seats. It loves cleaning that stuff, loves it. But you, as you're removing the oils from the Alcantara, which it's amazing at, you have to be careful you're not really super freezing what would be underneath the fabric.
So is it changing the pressure or time while working?
And moving it, right? You want to move it.
Yeah, because again, you're freezing it. So like if you hit a seat that's really bad, just once you do your second or third pass, just poke it with your finger. If it feels really hard, move on. Let it warm up a little bit.
Essentially, you don't want to freeze it and then keep hitting on it because now you're breaking the material at that point.
So this is for you two, right? Again, this is the detail machine because I can do Alcantara, I can do all the instrument cluster, the buttons, the switches, all that. I can do an engine very effectively, very efficiently. It slows down in here. But if I have this with a couple of little tricks, I can still do this, right? His machine's gonna do this wheel well 15 minutes, 10 minutes, right?
It's gonna be fast.
It's an hour with the Vario, right? But again, it's same, but not same. Same, but different, right? Exactly.
It's not just that.
Yeah, 30 CFM. And even if we had a 30 CFM compressor here and we tried to do this, it would be a different story.
Now,
Right.
Eric, quick question. You said that you can add glass to this one, or you can add, shells.
Yep. 100%.
Something like this, right?
That's what I would
now,
do.
Is that going to contaminate your machine or
Yes.
not?
So-
you have to clean up the line again after.
So the back purge is key.
Yeah.
So I always, if I was doing an entire job, I'm doing the abrasive last.
Yeah.
So I'm taking care of everything I want to clean with the machine, then I'm adding the abrasive,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of taking it from there, right? Because for me, in some of the shops that we deal with, to just do the wheel wells in this car, $1,500, fair, right? Give or
All
take.
four?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, and then to leave him or her with this rust spot here and not try to clean that up a little bit, to leave this here, to me, again, from where we come from, that's just not really cool,
I wouldn't
right?
like
So, maybe we have to charge a little bit more to kind of paint this up a little bit, but you want the customer to be super happy when they're
Yeah,
done.
exactly. Come back. Yeah.
So here we have this is the IV, stands for Ice Blaster 740. 740 is because 40 kilograms of dry ice per hour or up to 120 pounds an hour. And then we have the IV 1015, which is about up to 30 pounds an hour of dry ice that you make with this one. Depending on the application is what you want to use. These units have proven in the market super reliable because the whole construction is stainless steel. So we have units in the rental market or dealers that just leave them outside and then bring them out inside to use, and we tell them, that's not the proper, but it's very sturdy. Also comes standard with the controls in the gun. So we're the only ones in the market that are able to, once you start cleaning, undercarriage, etc., you're able to adjust the pressure of the air, and you're able to adjust the feed rate of the dry ice, so how much dry ice you want to use per application. So that allows you to be able, even if you're in an elevated position or you're under the carriage and you have your machine over there, you don't have to stop to make adjustments and go back and forth. So it's very efficient in production. Also, you can see here, some of the things that you see with dry ice blasters is they have the control cable. With this one, you have a pin that prevents it from untangling this and breaking this. Yes, and we're also very serviceable friendly. So any part of one of our units, if anything breaks, let's say you run a forklift and you break this cable, we can sell you the connector, the cable, the bolt, the button. you don't have to buy a whole new gun just to replace this. So that's very friendly. Another thing is all the machines have a computer logic inside that they go ahead and do a self-check every time you turn them on. So when you turn them on, you see here, it does a self-check and tells you that the voltage is correct, that everything with the current is perfect.
Gives you the pressure.
Yes, it tells you that the air pressure for the selected mode is okay. So let's say, for example, you want to do a delicate work.
Yeah.
So the machine knows, okay, if you want to do a delicate work and you turn it down, this can go down up to 10 psi. But you put it on the maximum production setting, the machine will tell you, hey, too much dry ice for the little air that you want to move. So it'll go ahead and tell you that. If the cable is damaged or you haven't plugged in the gun or there's something with the gun, it'll tell you, hey, we have an issue with the gun, or the compressor, the pelletizer inside the machine has something that you need to do. The humidity in the air. If the air that you're coming in, for example, you didn't put a dryer, you're just using a diesel compressor without any treatment whatsoever, it'll tell you, hey, you're putting too wet air, so you're gonna block the machine.
For the other machine too?
Yeah.
Both of them? Yeah.
So,
See right
yeah,
there,
it has the
shows you
same.
that,
Correct. It shows you all the same lights.
Yeah.
So here, here it'll also tell you a clock of how long you've been running it. So it'll tell you on the bottle, okay, you have been running it for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So now you, or 30 minutes, so you know how much you have left for that. And it also has a service counter that you're able to use it. Additional to that,
Do they know this one makes the ice?
yes, this one is the only one in the market that makes the ice. So
You don't have to buy the ice. You just get the cylinders leased, delivered, and filled.
30 pounds per hour?
yeah, roughly. So this is the only one in the market that makes its own dry ice on demand. So as soon as you hit the trigger, it makes the dry ice. So there's no tank or storage, so there's no way to get the ice, because as soon as it's produced, it's shut out. So that
Just based on how much ice you want to
correct.
push
So
through the line.
so instead of feed rate telling it this is how much dry ice I want you to feed, this is how much dry ice I want you to produce. And anything that is produced is just shut out.
So we're excited for this machine because the bays we have here is a rental model, so anybody can rent time in these bays. So if someone just wants to do a dry ice engine, and we have this machine in the corner, we don't have to worry about dry ice delivery. We just open the valve, we charge them for the rental, and off they go. So we're real excited. We actually haven't seen this in person yet, so we're students now as well.
And then what's the maintenance associated with this? Because you got a counter there, right?
Yes,
so
correct.
What is associated?
So the maintenance on this, the recommended from the manufacturer is 500 hours. This is a filter. That is the filters 500 hours. So filters the liquid CO2 that comes in to make sure that the whole system is okay. From our experience, we have customers that have it in automated production lines, that automotive manufacturers, factories that have them in robotics inside, and they have pushed them 1,200 hours.
On that filter?
And no,
Or on the machine itself?
on the machine itself without any need for a service. Yes, for service. So for maintenance, regular maintenance, you just want to change the filter every 200 hours. Each filter is like $50. And yes, because it's a metal sinter filter with a 0.5 microns that filters all any debris that may be inside there. And the machine both of these machines being single hose, single air hose, they're very efficient in air. So what determines the consumption of the air is the nozzle, not the machine. So if you see the area here of this nozzle and the area of this nozzle, this one will top out at a consumption of about 25 CFM. This one will top out of consumption of about 45 CFM. So depending on the nozzle, depending on the consumption of the air. Now, you can see why would you want to use this nozzle, because it's a much broader stroke, so you can clean faster. and this one is for more precision and directed at the cleaning applications that you want to use. You also have a holder where you can place your different nozzles, and you can place your PPE. We always tell our clients it's very important to have gloves, your hearing protection, your eyesight protection is very important. We are also the only ones in the market that have a single hand change. So when you see this, very easy to change. Let's see here. For changing the nozzles, it's a very easy application. You just go ahead, and you want to go with a soft nozzle, you go like this. We have 90-degree nozzles, we have flat nozzles, round nozzles, etc., depending for the application that you guys want to use. The machine is designed to be very portable. As you saw, we had it over there, we brought it over here. We didn't have to move tanks separately, hoses, etc. Everything is designed to be carried with the machine. So if you are looking for a portable operation, you just cart it out, and everything is in there, nozzles, hoses, etc., and then you cart it in. In addition to that, let's say you have a new operator, you want to teach him how to use it. Just point at the QR code. It'll show you how to set it up, it'll show you how to change nozzles, how to adjust the pressure, how to turn it on, how to turn it off, and that's it. Same as this one.
So we talked about the dry ice and the price per pound. What is the cost of this tank?
Okay.
Is it the same or?
It's about the same.
Okay.
But the beauty of this is that you only use what you need.
Exactly.
So
you don't waste any.
So there's zero waste. Yeah. So you only use what you need. So for example, this one we pay for, this is 50 pounds. You can also get 75 pounds. They're roughly the same price. And we pay about $44 per bottle.
How much?
$44. Yeah.
Oh, $44.
Yes. So depends.
And how much you can, like, obviously it depends on how much ice you're pushing through it. But in average, how long this tank will last you?
40 minutes, an hour and a half, and like 2 hours and a half,
Okay.
depending on the consumption level that you're. And the bottle then is empty.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So how many bottles we need to do this vehicle? Like the engine bay, the wheels, and the
Okay.
average?
If you want to do undercarriage,
Yes.
okay, you want to do undercarriage, then we have also the option to have a tank. So the tank also on wheels, doesn't go on top of the machine, but it'll be something like this, and I can show you. And it's okay. So this one will be equivalent to 9 of this, but the price is only $159 for the refill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for the refill.
That's the dolly too.
Yeah.
So you can cut it.
And then with this tank, I can do the whole car like this?
Yeah, of course.
Got it.
Yeah, that will give you like 300 pounds of dry ice. And then you also have this one. This one, same features as well. Safety is paramount. You have here these connections. When you quick connect, when you put the connection, you have also a double safety here for the quick connect.
Yeah.
So there's no need, all this is toolless. So no need to grab a tool, but it's double safety for the operator. If you have an operator and you tell them, okay, perfect, let's go ahead and clean the undercarriage of a car, but have you seen the dry ice cleans with kinetic energy? So how much PSI do you put in the car? So you tell them, okay, you put them, this is how I want you to clean it. 60 PSI and 30 pounds an hour. You lock the settings over here, and then you go ahead with a key, and then he can go ahead and clean the equipment, and you will know that he won't be wasting, because think of dry ice as your detergent. He won't be wasting dry ice by using too much on it. Also, you have all the statistics here. How much dry ice did he use for the operation? How much time did you work, etc. So that will give you all the data that you want to see from the operation that you just did.
So why this one has a ground connection? because it's stainless steel?
Okay,
Or?
no, the ground connection is when you're cleaning metal parts,
Okay.
because of the static electricity that develops on the blasting hose.
Yeah.
So you want to go ahead and put it if you don't want to get a little bit shocked. It's not dangerously shocked, but it's tingles, so some people don't like it. So
You always smoke that.
yeah. So this one
The other
also
one has it too? Has a ground or not?
this one separate as an accessory.
Okay.
Doesn't have the reel, but you can just put the cable on it.
Alright.
On this one also you have the specific feature, the only one in the market that has the, once you fill this with dry ice and let's say lunchtime, you get a call, customer comes in, etc., and you want to stop the operation, but you have the hopper full. So what do? You press a dump button and it empties the dry ice and you put it back in the tote.
Oh, nice.
So you can use it the next day or so zero waste.
That's cool.
So that's the good application as well. The same controls that you have over here, you have here on the control panel. You can, it has also accessory for a big light as well that is a 360-degree ring light that illuminates the whole area, very powerful.
It comes with in the package?
No, it's as an accessory. So standard comes with this nozzle, and then depending on the application, there's about 30 nozzles that you can choose on. Very specialized nozzles. So for example, if you are plastic injection cleaning, industrial application, some molds can be $100,000, $200,000. So they come with bumpers of silicone molds, so there's no risk of the operator heating it with a metal nozzle and damaging. Also, additional to that, all the nozzles are metal. So you're not gonna have to change because they're plastic and they wear out, etc. In addition, this one has a ramp feature. So ramp feature is as soon as you press the trigger, because this is a lot of power, it ramps slowly. So it doesn't go on off right away, but it accelerates the delivery of the air and ice, so you are able to maintain the precision of the location target that you want to hit. So that allows you to be more effective in the job without hitting anything that you don't want to hit.
And the hoses, are they interchangeable between the machines?
No,
you could change them or not?
No, this is different sizes. So this one is a smaller hose, and this one is a bigger hose. What you can do is you can extend them. Okay. So with this one, you can go up to, let's say, 60 feet. So we have different size hoses as an extensions that you can attach for large operating areas. This one, our clients use it a lot in industrial applications, so it excels in that. And then
you're
longer
using it
hoses.
for cleaning or also blasting?
Always cleaning.
Okay.
Yeah, because for dry ice, it excels in cleaning. Yeah. So when you use dry ice, really is meant to not alter the surface that you're cleaning. So that's
Just alter what's on top of it.
Yeah, so if you want to do paint removal, you have to, the paint has to be sensitive to that. It has to be, cannot be very adhered because it'll have a hard time doing it, and you want to be the most cost-effective way.
Can you add additional, like other medias to this one, like add glass to it?
Nope.
Or you add
Only dry ice.
This is just dry ice. Basically.
Just dry ice, yes. Okay. Alrighty, so should we begin?
Cool, yeah.
Do you want to try it first?
I think he does.
What you're gonna find is because the CFM is smaller, this is only using about 28, 30 CFM.
Oh, there's a big one.
This,
Wow.
the dirt stays here, doesn't fly too much around because the air is so much less. We can also change the nozzle for a wider nozzle.
Yeah, can we?
And just remember, you guys are starting to get into it and excited. We have Tyvek suits. I very much suggest you put one on.
All right, after this one.
Of course.
Yeah, what did you think?
I think I have so many things to process. I think the presentation was amazing. Shop is spectacular. Everything was super cool. 2 different types of machines for different purposes. And I think I made my decision already. I made the choice. The Pro. I just came straight from New York just to see this machine. I think that's the winner. That's the machine I need for my job.
And thank you for coming out.
No, thank you guys for having us, and and we're always, always open to come in and showcase our products. And thank you for the opportunity, and we really appreciate it. The collaboration.
If they got questions on the
surpassindustrial.com. Feel free to reach us via messaging or via call us, or call Car Supplies Warehouse as well. They are amazing team that our partner for the Kärcher dry ice blasters as well, so they're very knowledgeable in this subject as well, so feel free to reach us out.
And maybe we bring some other Kärcher machines on besides this dry ice. That'd be cool, huh? All right, now we're gonna talk to Ruben about his car. How's it going so far?
Great.
You're gonna be here all night, aren't you?
I'm excited to be here all night.
I think there's a big, huge transformation already. So this machine seems to be the best for doing undercarriages, right? I mean, there's just so much power on this machine. It does so fast. And look at it. It's looking beautiful.
And the time, I mean, if you would try and do this with chemical and whatever brushes, it would take days. Something that you can switch and use a machine, 5-6 hours.
Yeah, and you'd be soaking wet.
And it would be a monstrosity on the floor.
Not like it's not dirty right now.
No, it does get dirty, but the versatile, how you can use it on different metals, different, from fabric to metals to a hat, they're amazing machines.
Yeah. Well, get back to work.
I'll be here.